Everyone, this is Ashley with Clover Patch Knits, and I am back for episode. This is either episode 4 or 5. I can't remember. It's either one of those, but I'm back to record my full podcast. This the last video I did was super short, so this is my longer, full episode. But if you are new here, welcome. And on this channel, I talk about everything wonderful regarding knit and crocheting. So if that's something you enjoy, then I hope you subscribe and you can be a like. So where I last left off on one of my full episodes, I think that was episode 3, if I can remember, but I was talking about course projects that I want to make. In that last episode, I mentioned how I wanted to make the Stromboli pattern by Caitlin Hunter. So when I last recorded that video and talked about that pattern, I had not bought the pattern yet, and I'll put the picture of the Stromboli pattern up here so you all can see. But I love this pattern. It is so beautiful to me, and I think if I can remember, this pattern is like a fingering weight. I don't know if it's held with something else, but it's a tee, kind of summer, maybe spring type tee. But I love this pattern, and like I said, when I last recorded it and talked about that pattern, I had not bought the pattern yet, but after I recorded, I bought the pattern. So when I bought the pattern and I read the full pattern, I was like, okay, well, I might need to wait before I make this pattern, because this, the Stromboli by Caitlin Hunter, it is a full over lace pattern. And like I said, I love this pattern, but the only thing about this pattern is that I have not worked on full over lace. I've done, I think if I can remember, I've done a little bit of lace, but it was small. It was a small section of lace that I last worked on, if I can remember, but it wasn't full over lace. And another thing with the Stromboli pattern that I have not worked on is it is a bottom up sweater construction, which I've never done either. And then also in the Stromboli, it's a lot of charts, of course, because it is full over lace. And so I'm like, Ashley, I think there are a few techniques that we need to practice on before we jump into a full over lace type pattern and then a bottom up sweater. So I found another tee that I think would give me practice on working on lace and looking on remembering how to work on and read charts and patterns before I jump into the Stromboli by Caitlin Hunter, because I love the Stromboli pattern so much that I actually want it to be a finished object that I wear and not something that I just start on and not finish, because I had the same issue with the Sorrel sweater. I can't remember who made the Sorrel sweater, but once I find it, I'll put it. I should probably put a picture up here so you all can see it, but that is one of my favorite sweater patterns. I think it's so beautiful, and I've seen so many people make alterations and make the sweater their own, but I think it is so beautiful. And I attempted to make that sweater. This was years ago. And this was my first time ever stepping into reading charts. If I had done a charted pattern before, it was super easy. But the Sorrel sweater is what I would more so consider back then like an intermediate type of chart pattern with a chart in it. So when I make the Sorrel sweater, because I had not really practiced on reading charts and patterns, it was a little bit difficult for me. And I never finished that sweater. And I should have shown it because I still have it, and it's super beautiful. And if I can find it, I'll have to show it in my next episode. But I never finished the Sorrel sweater, which makes me super sad. But it was just simply because I had not practiced enough on the techniques that were required in that pattern, which I'm like, maybe I should give the Sorrel sweater another try, because like I said, it's one of my favorite patterns, and I think it's so beautiful. But going back to the Stromboli pattern, that's why I want to practice, because I actually want this to be a finished object that I wear, because I don't want it to be something that I start and don't finish, because I've heard great things about the pattern. I've heard people say it's a super enjoyable pattern when they make it, but I feel like for me, for this to be a super enjoyable pattern, I need to practice on some of the techniques. So the sweater, or the tee, I keep saying sweater, but the tee that I found that I think is going to give me some practice that I need to get me comfortable and prepared for the Stromboli pattern it's the Salty Air Tee by Samantha Garn. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes so I can remember what I want to talk about in this episode. But this is the Salty Air tee, and I'll try to put a picture up here as well. But I love this tee. And the thing is, I saw this tea on Ravelry, but for some reason I forgot to add it to my favorites, so I totally forgot about it until I was trying to find another tea that I could work on before I start this Stromboli tea. And I was like, oh my god, I remember this pattern. I love this pattern. And so I bought the pattern and read it, and I think this pattern is going to be super more in my skill set level, and it's going to give me the practice that I need before I do the Stromboli. So I love this pattern, and the thing I love about the Salty Air tea is I actually like the way the cuffs on this tee is a little bit more rounded. Like in this shirt I'm wearing, the cuffs are more of a rounded look. Now with the Stromboli, the sleeves on the construction, or the look of the sleeves on that one, is more of like a square design, if I'm making that sound correctly, but it looks more of like a square design. And so here's the thing with me and my knitting, which I'm working on learning how to like make alterations, but it's something that I'm still working on. So I don't know, maybe with the Stromboli pattern, maybe I can make the sleeves a little bit more rounded like how it is in this shirt, because I actually do like the rounded sleeves, or the rounded cuffs rather, that you get in the Salted Air tee. So I don't know, I'll have to figure that out, because when I look on Ravelry with the Stromboli, I don't think I've seen someone make their sleeves a little bit more rounded. And I wonder, is that pattern, the Stromboli, is it even something that you can kind of make like your own? I don't know. And I would say this, the people that can make like alterations on their knits, y'all are so like amazing to me, because I'm just not there yet. Most time I'm only done like one alteration on a sweater that I made, but it wasn't like a big thing, but I was super proud of myself. But for people who can make like the sweater their own, y'all are amazing to me. Like there's a podcast that I love, and I think her channel is like Nora Knits, but I'll put it in the link below. But I love her channel because she's always showing how she's making like patterns her own. I think it's amazing. But back to the Salty Air tee, I really love how, as I mentioned, the cuffs on that tee are rounded. So I'm super excited because, like I said, I bought the pattern for that one and I read it and I was like, okay, I can do this. It's going to give me practice on charts, because the Salty Air tee has some lace going on, but it's not much. The lace is just right around here. It's not full over lace. So it's going to give you the practice on lace. And the Salty Air tee is a construction that I am familiar with, because it's a top-down construction, and I'm familiar with that. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna let me practice on like two things, but at least it's gonna be a familiar construction that I'm used to making. But the yarn that I'm going to use for my Salty Air tee, this is the Sandness Garn yarn. That's a kind of a little bit of a tongue twister, but I have never used this yarn before, and I'm super excited because I have heard so many great things about this yarn. But it was hard for me to find this yarn, but I finally found an online store that sells this yarn, and I'll try to put their information below so y'all can get it as well. But this is the if my camera will focus, let's give camera a moment so she can focus. But this is their, why is my camera still not focusing? Let's see if I bring it closer, it'll focus. Well, okay, anyway, there we go, now it's focusing. So this is their Tynn linen yarn, and I believe this should be a fingering weight yarn. I'm not sure about this color. I can't remember the name of it, but once I find it, the color, I'll put it in the information below as well. I love this. I've heard great things about this yarn, if I can show it correctly, but I've heard great things about this yarn, well, the yarn brand in general. I've heard great things about it, and I have seen people use this yarn for other t-shirts, and they said it looks great. Only thing that I have a concern about is because I've used yarn like this, similar. I've used linen yarn that's similar like this, and the only issue that I had with another yarn brand is that the yarn did split. So I'm hoping that when I start my Salty Air tee, the yarn doesn't split, but I've heard that it doesn't, and it shouldn't do that. So my fingers are crossed that when I start this Salty Air tee, that it won't split, and it'll look beautiful and it'll look great. And right, I think Now, when I bought the pattern, I was like, I think I'm going to go with the size medium. So I think I bought 4 balls of this, so I hope that it'll be enough. But I might end up making the large because I want to have a little bit of room in my tea, so I might need to buy some more, but we shall see. I haven't started on it yet, but I plan to start on it because I'm almost finished with 2 current projects that I'm working on. So once I finish those, my plan, no, I'm about to lie. My plan was to start on the Salty Air tea until I saw another sweater. Now, this is another podcast channel that I love. To me, she's one of my favorite, like, knitting podcast channels. I love her channel, but her channel is, if I can find her channel name because I wrote it down, it's Allie Makes Everything. I will put her channel in the information below because I love her channel. Now, like I said, the Salty Air tea was supposed to be one of my next, like, projects that I start. But on Allie's podcast, she showed her linen sweater by Petite. I am in love with the sweater, and I'm not sure if it's maybe like the color combination that she used that I love so much, but it's so beautiful to me. And the thing is, I'm always looking at petite knit patterns, but the thing is, I've seen the Lyon sweater on Ravelry, but it never caught my eye. And like I said, I really think it's the color combination that Allie used. It just looks so stunning to me. I believe this sweater is like fingering weight held together. I have not bought that pattern either, so I'm not sure of the construction of this sweater or anything. I just love how it looks, and it looks super cozy. So I don't know. I may buy that pattern. And the thing is, I'm like, okay, we're supposed to be destashing, because I still have yarn in my closet that I've mentioned before. I still have not used. There are sweaters that I still need to make, have not made. So I'm like, I really don't want to be wasteful, but I'm just like, I love the Lyon sweater. Love it, and I really want to make it, but I'm like, it's going to mean I'm going to have to buy more yarn. So, I don't know. I may just treat myself and buy the yarn and make the sweater. So that may be the next thing that I cast on. I'm not sure. But then I'm like, I really want to start on my spring and summer knitting. And then, let's not forget, I still have to make my Christmas sweater. You all, I still have not decided really which Christmas sweater I'm going to start with first. Haven't bought the pattern or the yarn yet. So there are still things that I have to get done. So I love the Lyon sweater, and like I said, I love Allie's podcast, so check her out. It's amazing. She's one of my favorite podcasters. Let me make sure I've talked over all the sweaters that I'm going to talk about, covered everything. Okay, great. So, also, in my podcast, I think this is episode 1, I talked about how I want to go over, or talk about reading books that I'm reading, or books that I want to read. And I remembered, I'm like, I haven't talked about any books that I'm reading. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about books that I want to read and I'm currently reading. So a current read that I'm reading right now is this book right here. It is All You Need to Know About the Music Business, and it's by Donald Passman. I'll put this also in the information below. This is a super big book. It's about like 506 pages, but I love this book. It's really insightful about the music industry. So yeah, if that's something you want to learn about, get this book. It's been a great read so far with a lot of information. So that's what I'm currently reading right now. I'm taking my time with reading this book because I really want to learn the information in this book, but that's one of my current reads. Now, another book that has been on my wanted to read books for a super long time. So, I don't know if you all remember the show Victoria from Nickelodeon. I don't even want to mispronounce his name, but it's Avon. I think if you say it Avon, I'll try to put his picture up here. But this guy from Victoria, he has created a book called The Autopsy of an Ex Teen-Heartthrob. And I literally totally forgot about this guy from Victoria, and so he started popping up on my social media feed, and I was like, oh my god, that's the guy Victoria, but he was promoting his book, and I just love him on Victoria. So when I saw that he had a book, that he was coming out with a book, I was like, I have to get this book. I think this book is going to be super interesting. I think it's also going to be a book like filled with poems, if I can remember. But yeah, I really want to read that book. I think it's going to be a great book just to kind of get his perspective on what it was like being, as in the title says, an ex-teen-heartthrob, and kind of, I've always just kind of wondered, like, how is that like being a heartthrob in your teen years? I feel like there has to be a lot, because teenage years can already be awkward, but like, how is it when all these people like you and you're on TV? And so I really do need to get this book because I believe it's out now. And so I need to get the book so I can start on it. And I hope it's going to be a great read. So those are the two books that I'm looking at getting. And I have so many like hobbies and projects going on. It's like, I don't have much time to do all these things, but I try to make everything work. And then my current projects that I showed on my last episode are coming along well. Monday sweater, I'm almost done. And I guess I can show my Monday sweater. I show my Monday sweater like all the time, so this is one of my proudest sweater moments. But every time I try it on, I'm in love with the sweater. I know I talk about Petite all the time, but her pattern really has just blown me away because it's so well done. So, but this is how far I am. I'm on first sleeve, working on the cuff part, almost done. I think I may do 1 or 2 more rows of the 1x1 rib, and then I'm going to bind off, and then I'll be working on my second sleeve, and then I'll be done. So every time I try it on, I love this sweater. So I always say this, but if you're a beginner knitter and you want an amazing sweater pattern, just give this one a go. You'll love it. And then my Tuulikki Mittens, almost done with those, working on the left mitten for my sister. So hopefully I can get done with my last mitten by this weekend, so I can go ahead and block those and give those to my sister, because my younger sister, because it's warming up now. It's like mid-March in Mississippi, and it's starting to warm up. So hopefully she'll get to use those mittens when it cools back down, maybe this fall. Or with Mississippi's weather, the way it is just like so crazy, and the way it goes back and forth, she may get to use those in March or April. Hey, who knows? But whatever. At least I'll be done with those, so I can go ahead and start working on some other projects, because I really want to go down my list of, things I want to make, to go ahead and start on some of those things. So hopefully I can start on those soon. But we've made it to the end of the episode, and if you stayed this long to hear me talk about all these things that I'm making, want to make, and books that I'm reading, thank you. And if you have enjoyed the episode, you can give me a subscribe, like, and I also put my social media information link below, so if you want to follow me on Instagram and Ravelry, you definitely can. But I will see you all next time. Bye.